Bagaitsu Dumelang, and welcome to this episode of the Balcony Dialogues, episode number 8. My name is Katleho Khositlo, and as I prefer short, Katleho Khosi. In episode 5 of the Balcony Dialogues, I spoke at length about how efficient the South African revenue is in terms of tax collections, right? I spoke about how they've invested so much in data analytics in terms of collecting taxpayers' data and even using the same to find people who are evading tax, or whatever the case may be, or who underdeclare their incomes. For this episode, I'm not going to talk about that because we do know that SARS used this advanced technology to collect information of the taxpayers, either be it individuals, businesses, trusts, or whatever the case may be. Right? For this episode, I want us to talk about the e-filing season, because that is what's looming at the moment, right? So let me just firstly explain what happens. SARS tax year runs from the 1st of March every year until the end of February the following year, right? So for the current tax season, or for e-filing for this season, it's for the season from 1 March 2024 until the 28th of February this year. So what happens is that immediately after that, your employer, if you're full-time employed, will have sent you what we call IRP5. Now, what is IRP5? IRP5, if you were employed within a full tax year, which is from beginning of March up until the end of Feb in the following year, that is 12 months, right? That is what we call a tax year. What is included in the IRP5, it's your earnings, benefits, deductions, either through medical aid, fringe benefits such as your car allowance, if you get any benefits which are coming from your employer to yourself as an employee, right? In IRP5, that is consolidated. So in simple terms, IRP5 should contain the information that is in your payslip times 12. Remember, your payslip shows your earnings per month. So in IRP5, it's consolidated into one document, and then they call it IRP5. What is then the benefit, or what is the use of IRP5? So IRP5, remember, you get it from your employer after the end of the tax season. Now, when it comes to you having to declare or do your e-filing as an employer when the season opens, you have to compare the information that is in your IRP5 versus what's sitting in SARS website or in your profile, your e-filing profile, right? If there's any difference, then it means there's problems. That information always has to match. So that is where you find this things like tax code. When you look at the IRP5, your remuneration or salary for the total 12 months in the e-filing has to be equal to what is showing in your IRP5, which you would have received from your employer. So I'm glad now I've clarified that, the RP5 story, right? Now, the purpose of this episode is to talk about the e-filing process itself. I think it's very efficient in the sense that it makes the life of a taxpayer, whether you are a business or an individual, very easy and convenient, in the sense that you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad, you can do it on, like, literally, you don't have to go to a branch and do your filing. You can do it at the convenience of, at the most convenient, or while waiting at the airport, for example, or sitting in a queue, waiting for a bus, or riding in a train, for example. That's how easy it is, or that's how SARS makes it easy for us taxpayers to be able to file for our or declare our incomes. So this is what normally happens. There are 3 categories, if so to speak, of taxpayers is identified by SARS, right? 3. The first one is auto assessment, right? The second one, it's non-provisional taxpayers. The third one is the provisional taxpayers. Now, what's the difference between the 3? Remember, I spoke about how SARS used data to calculate the benefits, or to calculate tax liabilities of individuals. So people who normally get auto-assessed are the ones that have got very predictable patterns of earning income. So it has got nothing to do with the fact that you earn less amount of money, but it has to do more with, is your income, are your fringe benefits, medical deduction, very predictable? Predictable, I mean, have they been consistent in the last 12 months? And then if they identify you for auto assessment, then your job, they would send a push message either via email or an SMS that you are identified for auto assessment, and then you log into your e-filing, and then you just confirm that you agree with the information that's in there, right? And then as soon as you confirm, let's say SARS says they owe you money, then they will be able to refund you within 72 hours. That is specific for individuals identified as auto assessment, right? Now, the second one, it's non-provisional taxpayers. Non-provisional taxpayers is individuals who are not identified for auto assessment, and they derive their income from remuneration. So it's somebody who's full-time or somebody that is employed, but they are not falling into the auto assessment category. So SARS would call that non-provisional taxpayers, right? So if you either into the auto assessment category or you fall into non-provisional taxpayers. The third one is provisional taxpayers. Provisional taxpayers are individuals who derive income but not from remuneration. So think about somebody who owns properties in their names and then they earn rental income. Those are most likely, or you earn interest, you've got a lot of investments, then those individuals are most likely to fall into category of provisional taxpayers. So provisional taxpayer is an individual, it's not a business. as an individual that derive income out of interest, dividends, or rental income, I've mentioned, on their individual capacity. This should not be confused with business e-filing category or trust e-filing category. So this is what happens for this year. SARS is saying effective the 7th of July 2025, it will be opening for auto assessment. So you will be getting messages to say from the 7th, between the 7th of July until the 20th of July. That is the period for people who are identified as being auto assessed. On the 21st of July until I think somewhere in October, let me just verify the facts. So for non-provisional taxpayers, your e-filing season begins, or your filing season begins effective the 21st of July 2025 until the 20th of October. That is when you will be able to log in and do your online e-filing. For provisional taxpayers, it will begin on the 21st of July, same as non-provisional taxpayers. However, you is allowed until the 19th of Jan 2026. So I think we've done with that, explaining the categories. I now want to talk about the importance of why do you have to now do the e-filing. If you don't do your annual SARS returns, you're falling into a trap of being identified as non-tax compliant or not declaring your income, and that results in either you now attracting penalties or SARS identifying you as a tax evader. I mean, we've had a lot of seasons where, we've had a lot of instances where people deliberately want to evade tax by either under declaring their incomes or their other source of income. And if SARS find that out, then it means we're in trouble. You end up being dragged to courts and your assets being attached, and similar to the recent case that happened in KZN to Mam Kize, for example. So most importantly, I want to talk about how does it happen that certain people or businesses end up having a high tax liability. It comes when you don't do the e-filing, right? Or it comes when you are doing it, but you are under declaring your sources of income. Or it can happen because you are just logging into e-filing and then you are filing. You don't know what you are doing. So let's take, for example, an individual that has got a travel allowance, or a company, the benefit of a company using a company vehicle. Often when that happens, SARS see or classify that income, it's still a fringe benefit. But until you can prove to SARS that you have travel benefits and you have a logbook, you've kept a logbook for the entire tax season, that shows that these are the kilometers that I've traveled for private and for business using my own, for example, my own vehicle, then it means you are doing a mistake. If you don't have the logbook, SARS would classify that as income, same as fringe benefits or same as salary, which end up making you fall into a higher tax bracket. And what happens in the end? You end up looking like you have a higher tax liability. So in this instance, it's lack of knowledge on how to file rather than you avoiding or evading tax, right? So you have to keep a logbook. At the end of the tax season, when it's time for you to do the e-filing, there's a section where you have to attach your logbook and the fact that, for example, you have ownership to that asset, because then SARS has to, the asset, I mean the vehicle, because then SARS has to determine the wear and tear that is due to you for using your private car for business or your private vehicle for traveling specific for business. So there is the tax benefit you get, which they call wear and tear, where then that money goes back to you. But if you don't prove via logbook, then as I've mentioned, that gets classified as a benefit, and you end up, for example, that's one example when you can make a mistake of not actually paying or not or having a high tax liability. It's because of lack of not knowing, right? I also want to warn people about hoax and them getting emails from scammers saying to them you have this tax refund. Always make sure that you do type the SARS e-filing website and log in from there. Don't fall for the trap of scammers of clicking into links that says you do qualify for a refund, because most of the time they want to steal your information. They want to hack into your banking apps and all these sorts of things. So don't fall for that trap. The other thing I wanted to mention was that for you to benefit of the convenience of e-filing, you have to be a registered e-filer. It's very simple. It takes you less than 5 minutes to just go into the SARS website, e-filing, and register as an e-filer. This applies both to individuals and businesses. You can't do e-filing if you are not registered as an e-filer. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was in the e-filing platform, it's very important for you to have your updated information. I'll tell you why. So update information, I talk about your banking details if they have changed, your address, your email address, and your contact information. It's very important because say you forget your password, or you need to get an OTP for SARS to verify that are you the right person logging into your account. So if your information is not up to date, then it means you change an email or you change a phone number. It means when there's activities happening, either someone trying to log in or hack into your e-filing, you can't get those push messages. That's why it's important to have your most updated information, right? The other one, which is a no-brainer, is your banking details. So when SARS owes you money, they will have to give you a refund. If you have not updated your banking details, if you change your banks and you don't update it on the e-file platform, it means you're not going to be able to get your refund into the right account. So when you change your banking details, you just log in into your e-filing again and update information. So it's very important that you have your details up to date, right? And also, to do the right thing, get into the habit of doing your e-filing or your annual returns every year. It helps you to avoid penalties. It helps you to avoid interests. If SARS says you owe them money and you don't pay it in time, every month it accumulates. You get a penalty, and then it accumulates interest over time. You don't want that to happen. So when you owe SARS, you do the right thing, you pay them. I guess that's why also when they owe you money, they make sure that within 72 hours, they do refund you and give you what's due to you. I think the other thing also is, if you aren't sure of what to do, contact the relevant people, contact accountants, contact tax practitioners who understand how these things work and be able to assist you to do your e-filing, because then it means you are doing the right thing. And when it comes to also tax practitioners, make sure that you use people who are actually authorized to be tax practitioners, to be working on your matters, because if you use just like anyone else who's not approved by SARS as a tax practitioner or as an accountant, professional accountant, you are at the risk of now people not doing the right thing when they're supposed to, or doing what they have to do based on your incomes and your fringe benefits. I think that's all I wanted to highlight in this episode. And guys, thank you so much for supporting the Balcony Dialogues. And if you enjoyed this content, please hit subscribe. We want to grow this community and be able to give you similar content such as this one. I've been saying that we target also small businesses. We're going to talk about compliance also for small businesses in the next episodes. We're going to talk about how to structure your business plans to attract either funding or to attract bankers and attract investors. We're going to talk about a whole lot of topics that are going to assist you. But if you're not subscribed, it means you are missing out on this type of content. Thank you guys for joining me on this episode. I'll see you on the next one. Boom. Bye. I'm asking for your support in terms of subscribing to our YouTube channel, The Balcony Dialogues, short TBD. We also have merchandise that we are currently selling, very quality t-shirts, very stylish. We also have hoodies. We also have sweaters. So for winter, we've seen a lot of people coming to us wanting sweaters and hoodies. Our t-shirts are only 320. Very good quality. If you guys want to look at how the material looks like, this is, you can see the quality is so good. Like the material, the fabric. We've also got the sweaters. And lastly, my favorite, I like this because very stylish hoodies. I like this print because it references back to how TBD was conceived. I always say the Balcony Dialogues have got very strong roots of myself having to grow up in rural areas in the Northwest. Something that I'm very proud of because it has molded me to become who I am today. So for those who've continued to support the brand, who've continued to support the podcast, thank you, fam.